we've reached the comic portion of the show tonight. Inspired by the Vagina Monologues, Derek Dujardin created a show called The Mending Monologues, which is a series of true first-person monologues, sketch comedy, and hard-hitting slam poetry. On the live side tonight, Peter Starr Northrup will enact a scene that explores the situation when one man looks over the splash guard at a urinal to examine another man's junk. Peter Starr Northrup is a Memphis-born, Busan-based writer with a stumbling style and an awkward sense of humor to match. He equally divides his time between making 13-year-olds laugh uncomfortably at Cheongtam Dongnae Branch and getting beaten to death on the rugby pitch with Korea's best rugby team, the Busan Bandits. He would like to thank Dylan Miner, Mary Rose Lushka, and Optimus Prime for being super rad. Peter.
Well, whatever this is, it happened about 2.5 years ago. I had just ended a relationship with my girlfriend of 6 years, and I felt like I had to, well, write my way through the anger, depression, and loss. So I started this screenplay, and looking back, it's the dumbest thing I've ever done. It's about these time travelers who go back into the past, and then kidnap world leaders when they're young, impressionable teenagers, and then transport them to a post-apocalyptic future so they can see the fruits of their soon-to-be follies. It's sort of like A Christmas Carol meets The Terminator in space. And I tell you, that's a coming-of-age story. And for once, I wanted to finish something I wasn't being paid in advance to write. So I found a quiet library where nothing would bother me except for the milling about of ancient librarians. Now let's be clear real quick. As a writer, I am very accomplished at not writing. One of my favorite ways of not writing is, well, whenever I sit down to write, I get this forceful, awe-inspiring urge to pee. It happens every time. So to get through my procrastination and fear of failure, I make it a rule that before I sit down to do any serious work, I always go to the bathroom. So now at this library, in the men's room, on the wall, right above the urinal, right at eye level, was written, "Meet me here for a blowjob." August 12th, from 1:30 to 2:15 p.m. Next day, same offer. Meet me here for a blowjob. But the date had changed. August 13th, 11:30 a.m. to 2:15 p.m. Next day, same offer, different date. And after a few days of this, I started to wear a watch. And then 2 months went by and nothing happened, so I kind of forgot about it. I just figured it was, amusing graffiti, just kids having fun. That is. Until one day, I go into the library, I set up shop, I'm about to start writing, and I remember my golden rule. So I make a beeline to the bathroom. Suddenly, this short, stocky guy, about 25, face full of acne, he springs up from a couch near me and begins following me into the men's room. And he is right on my heels, walking quick, and of course, all I can think is, well, damn, that dude's really gotta pee. I pull up to the urinal, and he takes the one right next to me, which, by the way, is a serious breach in protocol. He then proceeds to make small talk. Now this should have been my first clue. Guys do not ever make small talk with random strangers in public restrooms. Not even that. Guys do not talk to anyone in public restrooms. The men's room is a sacred space of absolute silence. But either way, this guy turns to me and he says, "Hey, how you doing?" And I look at him like, "I'm fine. And you?" And he says, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm great. Yeah." I then see him peek over the splash guard to check out my low-hanging fruit. Now, this should have been my second clue. Guys, do not ever check out each other's gear in the restroom. Well, I mean, unless, of course, you know, you're packing something extremely impressive. Just saying. I should have walked out right then, but I was determined not to let this dude get to me. I just wanted to finish up my business and get on with my writing. But unfortunately, this dude was talking to me now constantly. I don't even remember what he said, but he was just babbling on about something inane. And all of this attention gave my urination stage fright. So I just kind of stood there, anxiously waiting for the flow to begin and just not peeing. And of course, lucky me, this dude takes that silence as some sign that he's built some sort of rapport with me and therefore continues talking. Constantly. This goes on for a very uncomfortable 2 minutes. Finally, I give up. I zip up, I back up, and I'm just about to turn and leave when he turns towards me, holding in his hand his somewhat erect penis. Oh. Displaying it to me like it's the best piece of meat in the butcher shop with this sappy grin on his face. I look down, turn around, and walk away. I glance over my shoulder to see that the look on his face has changed to a sort of confused, though still sappy, look on his face that basically says, oh, well, hey man, I thought we had something here. Walking back into the library, I feel this mix of emotions. I feel pissed. I want to punch this guy in the face, but I also feel a little scared. And more than anything, I feel humiliated. That surprised me. I always thought if something like that happened to me, I would find it amusing. And trust me, I was not amused. I'm usually like a live and let live kind of guy, and I don't even care if somebody's gay. I've been hit on by gay dudes in bars before, but this was creepy. Looking back, I kind of realized that in that bathroom, I received the smallest possible glimpse of what far too many women go through on far too regular of a basis. Having guys grabbing your ass in a bar, men whistling and yelling at you at construction sites, men leering at you at bus stops, only to be followed up with inappropriate remarks or touching. It made me think of the times in my youth when I may have done things like that. So anyway, I walk back into the library, I sit down on my computer, and I try to write. I cannot write. I pack up my laptop, I'm bolting out of there, I'm thinking about all the sorts of hastily constructed cocktails that I'm going to slam the second I get home, when all of a sudden I hear something that snaps me out of it. I hear a little boy's voice say, "Mommy, I have to go to the bathroom!" I turn around just in time to see Mama not even look up from her magazine. "Honey, you know where it is, just go." And all of a sudden, that's when it hits me. Oh my God, this is a public library in the middle of the afternoon, not some abandoned rest station on the interstate at 3 a.m. There are 2 schools within 2 blocks of this place. This place is packed with kids. I pipe up, I say, ma'am, you might have to take your son to the ladies' room. There's this weird dude hanging out in the men's room. No, Mama gives me a suspicious look, but then gets up and takes her son to the restroom. And then I think maybe I should tell one of the librarians, but I look at the youngest one, and she's about in her mid-70s. What on earth is she going to do about tall, dark, and creepy in the bathroom? That's when I get worried. That's when I get pissed. That's when I call the police. And that's when I suffered another humiliation. I meet this tall, redneck-looking cop in the parking lot, and I tell him about the dude cruising for sex in the bathroom. And the cop just kind of looks at me and he says, "Well, what did he say?" And I look at him and I'm like, I don't know, dude. He didn't really say anything. He just kind of showed me his dick with a knowing look on his face. And the cop just looks at me and says, "Well, how'd you know he wanted to have sex then?" And then I stammered, feeling like the unreliable narrator of my own life story. I told him about the daily blowjob offers, about how the dude followed me into the bathroom, about the small talk, about the major breach in protocol, about the checking out of the junk, about the somewhat erect penis, and the cop just kind of looks at me like he believed me. The cop goes into the bathroom, and lucky me, the walls have been scrubbed clean. There's no evidence, just my word against this dude. And then the cop gives me this look that I once got from a junior high vice principal when I was 12 years old. The look basically says, "You wimp. You should have popped that guy in the nose instead of calling me." And then, later, he gives me another look that basically says, "Now, son, your hair is dyed blonde. Your pants are pretty tight. Are you sure you weren't asking for it?" Like somehow the way I looked was inviting this behavior, and it was my fault. Either way, so the cop grills tall, dark, and creepy in the bathroom, and eventually doesn't arrest him, but simply suggests that the man never come back to the library ever again. Later, the cop tells me that based on the dude's eye contact and body language, that he was completely lying and thoroughly guilty. So, like, in the end, yeah, the cop believed me. But there's an epilogue to this story. I never finished that stupid screenplay. I stopped writing it that very day. The incident in the bathroom gave me the perfect excuse to quit. I also never went back to that library. I was afraid of, retribution of some kind, like getting hit in the back of the head in the parking lot for having ruined a perfectly good place for dozens of men who enjoy, anonymous bathroom sex. But there's another distinction that needs to be made. In that bathroom, I can choose to walk away. I'm not so sure that women can avoid the bars, construction sites, and bus stops where creepy assholes lurk and leer. And more than anything, I think about the humiliation I felt when that cop looked at me like I had deserved what had happened to me. I think about how overwhelmingly shitty that made me feel. And I realized that that is just 0.1% of what the feeling must be for a woman to have to call the authorities and have her story called into question. It is 0.1% of the feeling that it must be to sit on the witness stand. It is 0.1% of the feeling to say that a friend, a family member, or a minister is molesting you. I know it's only 0.1%, but it still felt like shit. Thank you.